Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. And in today's packed program, I'm going to be going through quite a number of things which will be absolutely useful and critical over the next 2.5 years. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the 4-year cycle which ends in 2.5 years' time. So I'm going to revisit that and give everybody an overall picture, especially with what's happening currently with the market going sideways. And as per the title of the video, I'm going to show you why there is a very good probability that we will hit 48,000 before the halving next April in 2024. And as usual, I'll go through the 60-day cycle and give you a slightly bigger picture view on the weekly chart as well. So if that sounds interesting, then without further ado, get yourself a cup of tea, sit yourself down, eyes on the screen, and let's get cracking. But before I begin, the usual polite reminder, please remember everything in my videos is just for educational purposes. So please do your wider research before you make any investment decisions or any swing trade decisions. And before we begin on the charts, I want to actually share with you something that I did for the Bitcoin Miners Club on Wednesday. And that is a little bit of personal development. People often ask me in the personal development side, what is the one thing that is absolutely life transforming? And I always have to come to this particular part of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you the clip from the Wednesday's video about something that is absolutely life transforming, especially for those people who have a dream, a great vision, people who have objectives and targets, and they look at their next 5 years and 10 years, and they want to get somewhere very different in that timeline. For those people who are really serious about their personal development, people who are really serious about being successful, and people who are really serious about being the best version of themselves, this is just for you. Many times I get asked, what is the one thing that has really helped you on your journey to where you are today? And I always have to refer to this thing called the wheel of life. And for me, anyway, for the last 30 odd years, I can tell you that no money market, no amount of money that I've made along the way, no amount of success that I've had would have been possible without this wheel of life and applying the principles behind that. So what is this wheel of life? Have you ever wondered why the majority of people around you and the people you've come across so far on your journey of life, they don't seem to be getting anywhere? Apart from the odd person who makes it and becomes successful, you've probably noticed and probably wondered in your own mind, why is it that only a very small number of people actually make it to be very, very successful? Not just on the measure of having more money, but on a variety of areas which we're going to have a look at. And this is what I want to bring you to the attention of. And that is, as you can see in the picture here, without the road as a template for these vehicles, they would get absolutely nowhere. Without a railway track, this train would not be going anywhere fast. It needs a track for it to get from A to B. So why is it that the majority of people, and I'm talking about 99% of people, have absolutely no template, they have no track, they have no road to get from A to B in life. And hence people are just moving sideways and backwards, a little bit forward, a little bit back. They get stuck in this quicksand of life. Then they get very frustrated, angry, very bitter, and envious of the other people who've been able to find some sort of a template to get them from A to B. So today I'm going to give you this template. But the sad thing is, only 1, maybe 2% of you watching this is actually going to take it seriously. But the ones who do will never regret it. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the wheel of life. Just like the car needs a road, the trains need a railway track, as human beings, we need a template to help us to guide through this life. So what this wheel of life does is actually solves a very big problem. So what this wheel of life does, it actually divides the whole of our life into various succinct areas. On this wheel, there are 8 areas, but in my own life, I actually follow 9 areas. And what this is a way of breaking up the key aspects of our life into easily understandable segments. So what it does is give you a visual representation of how balanced your life is. You can use this to measure each aspect of your life to ensure you're making progress and living a life of balance. This allows you to see exactly where you're at in terms of which areas of your life, all of these areas, and they are basically career, finance, personal growth, health, family, relationships, social life, and attitude. And there is one on there, just like the Lord of the Rings, there is one area here that rules them all. And if you've been with me for over the last 2 years or so, you'll know which area that is, because I did a special program on this about a year and a half ago when I showed you the clip from the Lord of the Rings in order to highlight this. So what these areas do is that they allow you to see exactly where you're at in terms of which areas of your life you are strong at, where you're falling behind, and where you want to make the necessary adjustments to live a happy and balanced life. This wheel of life is actually, honestly, one of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself. And I've been following these areas now for the last 30 years or so, since the mid-1990s, in one form or another. My journey in the personal development field actually started back in 1989 when I worked for a German pharmaceutical company called E. Merck. And as a way of motivating their sales force, they gave out these original books about the chicken soup for the soul by Jack Canfield. In there is a number of stories which will inspire you to have a positive mindset. A few years later, I came across this book here, which was really the spark to get me going in a completely different direction in my life at the time. And this is a book by James Allen called As a Man Thinketh. And this was really all about the law of attraction, how to think in a certain way and to bring into your life positive outcomes, circumstances, and situations. And finally, I discovered this wheel of life, which actually divided every aspect of your area into these very nice key aspects of life. And as it says down here, it's really a self-assessment tool. It's really for those people who are totally committed and dedicated to making themselves the best version they can be. As we know, we have only one chance in life. And it all depends on where you want to get to in that life. You can either surround yourself with negative people who will always sap your energies. They're what they call energy vampires. And you really don't want those types of people around you. As soon as you come across negative people, just walk away from them and just focus on this. This is where your real success lies. So the other area that I would add to this, which I've added over the last 30 years, is one of spirituality, or some people might call religiosity, and is something that will help you to have inner peace with yourself. So you can be successful in all of these areas here, but if you're not at peace with yourself, then the benefits of being successful in these areas are not going to be appreciated as much. So within the wheel of life, you see these numbers going up from 0 in the middle to 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 10 towards the end. And you do that for all the areas here. And the way to work this is that, so let's take finance as an example, because here we are with Bitcoin wanting to make a lot of money, which is obviously related to finance. So you look on the scale from 1 to 10 and judge yourself that where you are currently. Let's say you're on a 4 like it is on here. So you're okay, you've got a house maybe, or you're renting, and you've got a job and you've got enough money coming in, but you could obviously do with a lot more. And your target is, let's say, £1 million in the next 5 years. So what you say is that, well, okay, I'm at the 4 here, but what can I do to make the 4 to be a 5 or a 6 or a 7, etc., etc. And what this does is it actually triggers off a thought process and a program of action of what you can do to make the 4 into a 5 or into a 6 or into a 7, etc. So you sit down with yourself and say, okay, to make this into a 4 to a 5, I need to make some investments. I need to get promotion at work, maybe start a business on the side. So all those types of ideas then start coming to you when you want to work your way up this ladder from 0 to 10. And you do that for all of these areas. And obviously nobody can get to a 10 because there's always room for improvement. So just keep pushing these boundaries towards the higher numbers here. And the one area which I can tell you is the one that trumps them all. You cannot be successful if you do not get this one area on this chart right. And that is this one here. attitude. You may have a very successful career, you may have a lot of money, you may do very well under personal growth. I don't think you'll go very far with any of these areas unless your attitude is absolutely right. And what I mean by attitude is having a positive mental attitude towards everything and getting rid of any negative energy that you might have. And that actually starts with making sure you do not get yourself surrounded by negative people. It's one of the critical things in my life that as soon as I see negative people, I will give them a wide berth. I really don't want them around. Always come back to this particular quotation. Never forget that your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. So what this is really saying is that your attitude will determine how high you will go in life. If your attitude is wrong, you will find other people will actually move away from you, and those people may well be the people who are going to help you to get from A to B, from failure to success. And if you don't get your attitude right, you're going to miss out on that journey. I could make this video for 5 hours just based on how to work this. So what I would suggest you do is, for those of you who are interested, the 1%, if you go to YouTube and type in Wheel of Life, you will get a lot of videos here of people who have been very, very successful in using this. And you'll see that all of the things that you learn within this concept, it will actually help you in the crypto space. So I hope you found value in that. It's really basically saying you've got to take responsibility for your success in life. So take ownership of that success. And never forget the quotation, if it's to be, it's up to me. If you want to be successful, you need to take ownership of it. You need to make the decisions. You need to work on yourself because nobody else is going to do that for you. I really hope you found some real value in that Wheel of Life and how it can provide the template to move your life forward. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the charts now and look at exactly, as per the title of the video, why I think that we can still go to $48,000 before the halving next April. What we've got here is the pi cycle, and the two lines on there is the red line, which is the 350 simple moving average, and the green line, which is a faster moving line, and that is the 111 simple moving average. Now the pi cycle is more important in determining the end of the 4-year cycle and giving us the big peak at the end of the bull market. However, in between, it gives us quite a few reference points for peaks and troughs as well. So if we go back to the first halving, this red vertical line here, this is going back to 2012. And as you can see, once we'd reached the first part of the bull market here from its inception back in 2010, then once we'd had the bear market, the price came and actually, just like a magnet, hit the red line, the 350 simple moving average. And that happened before this halving vertical line. If we move to the second halving, this red vertical line here, similar thing happened one more time. Once we topped out at the end of 2013, we had this bear market. And then as soon as we bottomed out, we came back and retested this red line one more time here and another time here. So we had two touches of the red line before the halving here. The third halving we got was in May 2020, and one more time, having peaked out in December 2017 here, came down in the bear market. The red pi cycle line was hit one more time before the halving here. So far, in the last 3 cycles, the price action has come back and hit the pi cycle 4 times. So based on that narrative, what we've got to do now is that while there is doom and gloom and everybody thinks that the prices are going to go much further down and everybody's giving a prediction of 12,000, 10,000, 7,000 and some as low as even 3,000. For me, this is the time to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. And this is what the bigger picture is saying. And that is that the red line currently here, as you can see, is on exactly $48,000. So this is the halving we're expecting, this red vertical line, April 2024. So somewhere along the line, I would be expecting the price, even if it does have a little fall below for a few weeks or months, I would expect a big move anywhere along here in between this period to come and hit the $48,000 mark, or wherever this red line is going to be at the time the price comes and hits it. So all I would say is be careful and beware of the noise out there. There's a lot of people talking a lot of nonsense, and the only thing that we have to listen to is the charts. And this is the target that we've always had ever since we bottomed out here. We've always had these two targets between 40 and 50,000. And this is exactly also where this yellow line is, exactly around about the 48, 47, 46,000. And this is the RSI line, which has been smoothed over a multiple time frame. And this has proved very critical. So these two are providing a very good level of confluence that before the end of April 2024, we should come and hit this level here, despite the price being nowhere near it at the moment. So please keep this bigger picture view always in focus. Okay, so we're going to move on to the 60-day cycle. There's quite a few interesting bits to actually discuss here. First of all, the fact that we've actually been testing this 25.2 for many weeks here is actually quite concerning, of course, and this is what I've been mentioning over the last few weeks. And had the grayscale big move up here with this green candle, and that was day 7 of the new cycle, then I would have expected a follow through up here. However, we didn't get that, and what we got instead was a rejection of that high price around about the 28,000. And what we've got since then is basically a retest of the $25,000 mark here, which usually at the beginning of a new cycle would send alarm bells here, because the market's telling you that it doesn't really want to do this, and instead it wants to do this. This is what the normal situation would be when it's retesting a very strong level for more than once here. This is quite healthy, coming back and retesting a previous resistance point, but then to do this and retest it multiple times is not very healthy. And the truth of the matter is it can go either way, and we're just trying to make head or tail of where it has the higher probability to go. So far we've had a day 7 high, and this is the midpoint, this white vertical line, and this is the end of the current 60-day cycle around 21st of October. So this is where we're heading in this template. So obviously we made a high before the midpoint here, which means that it would be a left translated cycle. And should we break this here at the 25.2, then we've got a long way to go into the 60-day cycle, and hence a price of around 20,000 looks quite plausible here. However, should we continue in a sideways range past the 30-day point here, then that would start to look bullish, because there's been great opportunity for all the bears here to push it much further down. And if they haven't been able to do that, that tells me that there is something called the bear exhaustion. So all the sellers will have been really out of the market at this point, and that they won't have the strength to take the price much lower. So anywhere around here, the probability for the price of Bitcoin would, for me, swing back to the upside. And we could, just like an early top of the cycle here, we could make an early bottom of the cycle over here. And if we do break the 25.2 anywhere around here, then this becomes another failed cycle, of course. And you may well be aware that on Wednesday this week, we've got the CPI data in USA being announced. And then the following week, on Wednesday the 20th of September, we've got the FOMC meeting to decide on the interest rate. So the CPI data may come to our rescue anywhere around here. If the data is very, very good in terms of easing the pressure on the interest rates, we may well get a bounce on Wednesday this week. And of course, any positive news on the ETF that are going to be determined mostly in the middle of October, if we do get any positive news before then that would give the price another boost here. And so far, the range we've got is the 31 to the 25. And it is entirely possible that we could make our way back up to these levels, back to the 31, and then come back down to the 25 one more time and be range bound until we get to the end of this year or beginning of next year. So lots of possibilities, and we just have to wait for some resolution in the coming days and weeks. And if we zoom out on the weekly chart, really there are two levels very, very critical here. And that is the 31,000, which if we go back to this part of the chart, you can see quite clearly that this is quite a strong resistance point and support previously over here. So sooner or later this is going to break, but because of this historical support and resistance along here, we are going to find it a little bit difficult to get past this. But once we do, then there is quite clear blue skies ahead to take us back up to about the 47, 48 $20,000 mark as per the pi cycle. And the second level is this one here around the 25,200 mark. So this is where we're at. This is basically, if you wanted to put it in very simple terms, above 25.2, we are still in the bullish frame of mind over here. So anywhere above here is still in this trend. But once we break that, that trend comes to an end and we're going to be starting a new trend to the downside. Back down to this level here, the 20,000. This is a critical level. So these are the levels that we have to be aware of now. Above 25, still bullish. Below 25, it will be very bearish and really a sign that Bitcoin could well be in trouble for a few months. The last 3 weeks candles are very, very interesting here. So I'm going to have a quick closer look at these. Notice something very familiar. When we had this big green Marubozu candle appear, the following 3 or 4 weeks we had indecision candles, and it was really saying that the bulls have run out of steam here and maybe a turnaround was going to be taking place. Similarly, the opposite has happened here. We've got a red big Marubozu candle here. It doesn't mean it can't go further down. It just means that most of the sellers are out of the market here, and there isn't enough bear pressure to push this down so far. So while it's not very conclusive which way this is going to go, there is quite a lot of interesting developments which are giving us some signs of what may follow. So just like over here, there was buyer exhaustion, we've got here seller exhaustion. And as days are going by and we're not going below this 25, there is more of an inclination for me to think that the price is going to go to the higher side and get a big move. And if we do move to the lower side, this is the candle to look out for at 24,750. This is what we mustn't break. And if we break the 24,750, then 20,000 is very highly probable. And you can see here with the 200 simple moving average that if we do make our way back up again, we're going to come across this green line, the 200 simple moving average on the weekly time frame. So look out for that in terms of a rejection here. We've already got rejected there once here, then we may well get rejected one more time here. But the main area for rejection would be this underside of these candles. So around about the $29,000 mark. I would expect a rejection at around about the 29,000. But if we can get above that, then 31 this time may well break through because we've had many attempts at it. But if you wanted to play safe, this would be a good point to actually take profits if you're in a swing trade down here. Okay, I'm going to move on finally to the 4-year cycle and why, despite what the market is doing at the moment, is giving us no resolution for this sideways movement that we've had for the last 2 or 3 months now. So what we really need to do is, in these times when there's a lot of negative talk out there, we must keep in mind the focus on the 4-year cycle, because this is what our narrative has been. And if we have a look at the bigger picture of what's happened with Bitcoin in all of the previous 4-year cycles here. So when we have a look at the current price action, we can see on the monthly chart, we're creating higher highs and higher lows, just like we were over here and over here and over here. So from the monthly point of view, this is looking straightforward as a normal 4-year cycle. And the main objective of every 4-year cycle long-term portfolio, which is the one that I've talked about all the time, since we moved into this long-term portfolio down here with the Bitcoin miners, the main focus should always be not to get shaken out. However, there will always be opportunities along the way which can make an exception to that rule, and we should always be neutral and flexible. So when an opportunity presents itself or something happens to the charts that we think that maybe taking a cautious approach to the downside may be better, then obviously we can adjust that thinking a little bit just to be flexible about it. And this is exactly what I did over the last couple of weeks, is to take 50% of my positions over here when we were retesting the 25.2 for the second and the third time. And when you're presented with a bearish picture like that, sometimes it actually makes sense that even in the long-term portfolio, it would be good that if you've got a hefty profit from down here, and you've got to this position here, then it just makes sense to actually take some of it off the table here, just in case there is a big downturn. And there is no sense in riding it all the way back down to these levels. So within that 4-year cycle of the long-term portfolio, there will be opportunities to either take profits or add. So if the price did come back down to these levels here, this would be not the time to sell, but the time to actually increase, just like over here, this would be the time to actually increase your holdings. Because as long as you think that the 4-year cycle is intact, then by buying here is the right thing to do if we know the price is going to go up to this level around here. And obviously the other exception would be when we reach these levels, the first peak, as I've been speaking about for many, many months, including in this video. So if the price comes up to this level, there is a very high degree of probability that we're going to get rejected at that pi cycle around the $48,000 mark. So that would be a good appropriate time for the long-term portfolio, whether you want to take 25, 50 or 75% off the table, and some may even take the entire position out with a view to buying back at 30, 40 or 50% lower down. And that would be the final run then to the top of the bull market at the end of 2025. And the whole point of the long-term portfolio within the parameters of the 4-year cycle, the main thing is really to avoid all the stress and the anxiety of the day-to-day price movements and the week-to-week movements, maybe even month-to-month movements, is to take that stress and the anxiety out of it. And if you want to do the trading, then the best thing to do is to have the swing trade portfolio like we do at the Bitcoin Miners Club every Wednesday. So the question we have to really ask is that since we bottomed out here at the 15.4, does the cycle look any different to the previous cycles? And my answer to that is that the current price action is well intact and within the bounds of what's happened in the past in the last few 4-year cycles. So for me, the long-term portfolio requires a lot of patience, a lot of discipline, and to hold the position where we can and use the big pullbacks just to add more positions if we do get a big pullback, even more than the one we've already had. Because they are certainly, just like at 15.4, they will be the opportunities to go forward with. So the main thing with the 4-year cycle is to have an early entry at the bottom if we can, or slightly above it. So anywhere around the lower levels is a great entry point, which gives you a very much a bigger breathing room once you get to the higher levels. So the whole point of a 4-year cycle is to get in at the low level and get out at the high level. And really, that's basically as simple as that. And in between is the patience and the discipline to carry that through. And the biggest test is really to manage the boredom you're going to get along this way, with all the ups and downs of the market. And as I've mentioned over the last few weeks, the biggest thing you've always got to avoid is the massive amount of noise that's out there. And that really is a very big test. And as I've mentioned many times in the past, that there's a lot of YouTubers out there who give the impression that doing 20, 30, 40x leverage or even 100x leverage, that it's very easy and simple to make a lot of money very, very quickly. And that obviously is attractive to a lot of people, because who doesn't want to have a Lamborghini waking up in the morning parked in the drive? So I must admit, I do despair some of the YouTube channels, and I think we all know who they are. I don't like to trash anybody's channel, but we all know who they are. They've got about 500,000 to 1 million subscribers. They're forever trying to get their subscribers to go onto the exchanges, and they show how doing the leverage trading has made them millions over the last few years. And you may not be aware of this, but in the last 6 months, I've been approached by 6 different exchanges wanting me to offer you thousands of dollars for you to actually play with on their exchanges, and then when you lose the money on those exchanges, I will be getting a fee from that. And obviously I've turned every single one of them down. I have absolutely no interest in doing that kind of thing, and I know there are big YouTube channels that do that on a regular basis. Anybody who offers $10, $20, $30,000 for you to have a free play on the exchanges, please remember they're getting a big cut out of your losses. And all I would say is that that's something I would never ever do. I would never do leverage play, and I would never get onto those exchanges. And yes, I could have made thousands of pounds out of other people's misery of losing money, and I really just don't think that's the right thing to do. And it's important for me to just point it out in case you get tempted. And most of these people, unfortunately, are either lying that they're making this amount of money with 10x, 50x, 100x leverage, or they are very professional traders, which means that they know exactly what the psychology of the market is. They're very well trained and they have a lot of experience. But people like you and me are not well experienced in leverage trading, and the chances are, the higher degree of probabilities, that you're going to lose your money and your shirt on your back. So my final point on the 4-year cycle is just focus on this part here. the end of 2025. Wherever your entry was over here, just ride it and manage the boredom of the journey along the way. Just remain patient and disciplined and just get out over here. And we know that the pi cycle, whenever they cross, and I've mentioned this many, many times now, wherever they cross, just get the hell out. And that should be around about the end of 2025. Okay, so we've had a long video already. So what I want to do is just to make a quick announcement to my Bitcoin miners private club that we have every Wednesday. So tomorrow I'll be making a short video just to give an announcement of what's going to happen going forward on those Wednesday Miners Club. So please look out for a video tomorrow, very short, but just to the point. And also to the Bitcoin Miners Club members, I will be doing an update before the market opens today, because there is an opportunity which I'm looking at based on what I showed you a couple of weeks ago on the ratios chart. And you'll know exactly what I mean. So there is an opportunity brewing, and it may not be there on Wednesday. So we don't know how the market's going to play over the next couple of days. But certainly before the market opens today, I'll put that update for you, and then you can have a look at it, and then I'll bring that to your attention. Okay, so we'll leave it there. I hope you found value in the video. If you did, please don't forget to click the like button and to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and turn on the notification bell. And if you've got any comments, questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.